I didn't cry when I saw the numbers. Not at first. I just stared at the television screen, then down at the crumpled lottery ticket in my hand, my fingers trembling slightly. 5 matching numbers, and the Powerball, $473,000. After 37 years of teaching second grade, scrimping and saving, clipping coupons and buying generic brands, I'd finally caught a break. My late husband, Tom, would have laughed. He'd always said I was lucky with small things, finding parking spots, getting the last discounted item. But never anything like this. Never something that could change everything. It was a Tuesday evening in late June, the Arizona heat still clinging to the air even though the sun had set hours ago. I was sitting in my small living room in Mesa, the house I'd lived in for 40 years. The one where Tom and I raised our daughter, Rachel. The walls needed paint. The carpet was worn thin in the hallway. The air conditioning unit made an alarming grinding noise that I'd been ignoring because the repair estimate was $1,200 I didn't have until that moment. My first call was to Rachel. Of course it was. She was my only child, my pride and joy. She answered on the third ring, sounding distracted. I could hear her husband Derek in the background, his voice sharp as he talked on his own phone about some real estate deal that was falling through. "Mom, is everything okay? I'm kind of in the middle of something. Honey, I need to tell you something." I couldn't keep the excitement from my voice. I won the lottery. The Powerball. It's $473,000. There was a long pause. Then Rachel's voice changed completely, went soft and warm in a way I hadn't heard in years. "Mom. Oh my God, Mom. That's incredible. Don't do anything, okay? Don't tell anyone else. Derek and I are coming over right now. Right now. We need to help you figure this out." They arrived 40 minutes later, both of them dressed like they'd been at a business dinner. Rachel in a navy dress I'd never seen before, and Derek in one of his expensive suits. Rachel hugged me tight, tighter than she had in months, and I felt tears spring to my eyes. My daughter, my beautiful, successful daughter who ran marketing campaigns for tech companies and lived in a modern house in Scottsdale with its glass walls and infinity pool. "Let me see it," she said, and I handed her the ticket with shaking hands. She studied it carefully, then passed it to Derek, who pulled out his phone and started taking pictures of it from every angle. "Mom, this is amazing," Rachel said, sitting next to me on the couch and taking my hand. "But we need to be smart about this. Really smart. Do you know how many lottery winners lose everything within 5 years? Or get scammed? Or have family members sue them? I hadn't thought about that. That's why we're here." Derek sat down across from us, his expression serious. "Catherine, you need professional financial management, tax planning, asset protection, the works." "I was just going to go to the lottery office tomorrow and claim it," I said. "Maybe hire an accountant." Rachel squeezed my hand. "Mom, it's not that simple. The tax implications alone are massive. You could lose half of this to taxes if you don't structure it right. And then there are inheritance issues, estate planning, investment strategies. This is Derek's area. He deals with this kind of thing all the time with his clients." I looked at my son-in-law. Derek was 41, handsome in that polished way that always made me slightly uncomfortable, like he was acting in a commercial for expensive watches. He'd been in real estate for 15 years, worked with wealthy investors, drove a Tesla. Rachel had met him at some networking event 6 years ago, and they'd married within 8 months. Tom had died 2 years before that, and I remembered wishing he could have walked her down the aisle, even though I'd never warmed to Derek the way I'd hoped to. "What do you think I should do?" I asked. Derek leaned forward. "First, you need to claim the ticket through a legal entity, not as an individual. It provides privacy and liability protection. Second, you need to put the winnings into a properly structured trust that minimizes tax exposure. Third, you need professional investment management so this money works for you long term." It all sounded so complicated, so overwhelming. I'd been planning to maybe pay off my mortgage, finally fix the air conditioning, take a cruise I'd been dreaming about for years. Maybe help Rachel and Derek if they needed it. Be a good mother. I can help you with all of that, Derek continued. I have contacts at the lottery office, attorneys who specialize in this, and Rachel and I can be co-trustees on the trust to help manage everything. You'd still have full access to your money, of course, but we'd handle the complicated parts. Make sure everything is done right. Co-trustees? I repeated. It's standard practice, Rachel said quickly. It just means we can help you manage the funds, handle the paperwork, deal with the financial institutions. You'd still control everything, Mom. We'd just be there to support you. They stayed until almost midnight, talking me through options and scenarios I barely understood. Derek had charts on his phone showing tax brackets and investment returns. Rachel made lists of things I'd need to do, people I'd need to call. By the end of it, my head was spinning, and I just wanted them to handle it. They were smart, successful people. They knew about these things, and they were family. Don't go to the lottery office tomorrow, Derek said as they were leaving. Let me set up the legal structure first. Give me a week. Trust me, Catherine. You'll thank me when you're not handing half of this to the IRS. I trusted them. Of course I trusted them. Over the next 2 weeks, I signed papers. So many papers. Derek brought them by my house, walking me through each one with explanations that sounded reasonable at the time. Creating the trust, naming the trustees, setting up the bank accounts, authorizing the financial management. I signed my name over and over. Catherine Marie Foster, in my careful teacher's handwriting. Rachel was always there, squeezing my shoulder, bringing me iced tea, telling me how proud she was that I was being so responsible about this. The money came through on July 15th. After taxes and the lump sum reduction, it was $287,000. Still life-changing. Still more money than I'd ever imagined having. Derek showed me the bank statements, the trust account with my name on it, Catherine Foster Living Trust. It felt real and official and safe. We'll start by paying off your mortgage, Rachel said, sitting at my kitchen table with her laptop open. That's $23,000. Then we should set aside money for home repairs, maybe $50,000. And Mom, Derek and I were talking. You should think about moving to a retirement community. Nothing sad or depressing, but somewhere with activities, medical care on site, other people your age. You're alone here, and it worries me. I like my house, I said. This is where I raised you, where your father and I know, Mom. Her voice was gentle. But it's also where Dad died, and it's falling apart. Wouldn't it be nice to not worry about maintenance, to have neighbors? You could meet people, take art classes, go on day trips. I thought about the empty rooms upstairs, Rachel's old bedroom that I hadn't changed in years, the master bedroom where Tom had his stroke, where I'd found him that morning. Maybe she was right. Maybe it was time. The retirement community was called Desert Bloom. It was in Gilbert, about 30 minutes from Mesa, and when Rachel drove me there for a tour in early August, I had to admit it was lovely. Adobe-style buildings around a central courtyard with fountains, an art studio, a library, organized dinners and movie nights. The apartment they showed me was small but clean, with big windows and views of the mountains in the distance. It's $1,500 a month, the cheerful director said, a woman named Patricia with aggressively highlighted hair. That includes utilities, basic cable, 2 meals a day, and all activities, medical alert system included. It seemed expensive, but Derek assured me it was reasonable. We'll set up automatic payments from the trust, he said. You won't have to worry about anything. I moved in on September 1st. Rachel and Derek helped me pack, donated most of my furniture, moved my clothes and photo albums and a few pieces of Tom's that I couldn't part with. My house sold within 2 weeks. Rachel explained that Derek had a buyer ready, another real estate investor, and that the quick sale meant I'd save money on holding costs. I got $98,000 for it, which seemed low given the market, but Derek said it was fair for a house that needed so much work. We'll add this to your trust fund, he said, showing me paperwork I didn't fully read. Everything in one place, properly managed. At Desert Bloom, I tried to settle in. I met my neighbors, Dorothy and Linda and Harold. Went to chair yoga. Attended a watercolor class where I painted shaky desert landscapes. But something felt off, wrong. I'd wake up at night in the unfamiliar room and feel panic claw at my chest. This wasn't my home. These weren't my things. And when I tried to check my bank account online, the password didn't work. When I called the bank, they told me the account had been restructured and I needed to contact the trustees for access. When I called Rachel, she sounded annoyed. "Mom, we talked about this. The trust account is managed through Derek's financial firm. It's all being handled. Why do you need to check it?" "Because it's my money." "Of course it's your money. But it's also protected and invested properly. You're getting your monthly stipend, aren't you? The community fees are being paid?" She was right. Every month, $2,000 appeared in a small checking account they'd set up for me. For personal expenses, Rachel had explained. Food, clothing, activities. It seemed like so little compared to the nearly $400,000 that should have been in the trust. But I told myself they knew what they were doing. Investment management probably had fees. The trust had expenses. By November, I started to worry. I needed dental work, a crown that wasn't covered by my Medicare. The dentist quoted $3,800. When I asked Rachel if I could access some of the trust fund, she said she'd have to talk to Derek, that there were procedures for large withdrawals. "It's my money, Rachel." "Mom, don't start this again." Her voice was tight. "We're managing it for you. That was the whole point. You can't just drain the account every time you want something." "I need dental work. That's not just wanting something. I'll talk to Derek." But weeks passed, and the money never came. My tooth ached. I started using over-the-counter painkillers and stopped eating on that side of my mouth. When I brought it up again, Rachel snapped at me. "Jesus, Mom, you're being so ungrateful. Do you know how much time Derek and I have spent managing your finances? The hours of work? And you're constantly questioning us like we're stealing from you or something." The word hung in the air. Stealing. I never said that. "But you're thinking it. I can tell." Rachel's voice cracked. "You know what? Fine. Figure it out yourself. But don't come crying to us when you make bad decisions and end up broke." She hung up. When I tried calling back, she didn't answer. By December, I was scared. Really scared. I hadn't seen a bank statement in months. When I called Derek's office, his assistant said he was unavailable and would call me back. He never did. I went to the bank in person, bringing every piece of paperwork I still had, and asked to see my trust account. The manager, a kind-faced woman named Brenda, looked uncomfortable. "Mrs. Foster, I can see there's a Catherine Foster Living Trust account, but you're listed as a beneficiary, not a trustee. The account is controlled by Rachel Martinez and Derek Martinez. I can't give you information without their authorization. But it's my money, my lottery winnings. I created the trust." Brenda looked at the documents I'd brought. "According to what I'm seeing, you established the trust and transferred funds into it, but the control structure names the Martinezes as managing trustees with full discretion over distributions. Did you intend that?" I thought about all those papers I'd signed in July, all those explanations I'd only half understood. "I don't know," I whispered. "I thought I was still in charge. I'm sorry, Mrs. Foster." Legally, right now, they control the account. I drove around for hours after that, my hands shaking on the wheel. I ended up at the public library, the one I used to take Rachel to when she was small, where we'd check out stacks of picture books and she'd sit in my lap while I read to her. I found a computer and started searching. Can trustees steal from a trust? How to get back money from family member, Elder Financial Abuse, Arizona. The articles I found made my stomach hurt. Stories of adult children who convinced elderly parents to sign over control of their assets. Families who drained accounts and left their parents destitute. Warning signs I should have recognized. Red flags I'd ignored because I loved my daughter and wanted to believe she'd never hurt me. I needed proof. Real proof, not just fear and suspicion. When I got back to my apartment, I started going through everything I'd kept from the move. Tom's old filing cabinet that I'd insisted on bringing because it held our important papers, marriage license, Rachel's birth certificate, my teaching credentials. And there, in a folder marked financial, photocopies I'd made of documents before I signed them. I don't know why I'd done it. Some instinct, maybe. Tom always said I was cautious about paperwork, that it was the teacher in me. I spread them out on my small kitchen table. The original lottery ticket, which I'd copied on both sides. The first bank statement showing the trust deposit, $287,000. A handwritten note from Derek outlining how the funds would be managed. A copy of the trust document with highlighted sections I'd thought were important. And then I found something else. A small folder I didn't remember packing. Inside were greeting cards, birthday cards Rachel had sent me over the years. I opened one from 3 years ago, a glossy card with flowers on it. Inside, in Rachel's handwriting, "Mom, thank you for everything, for raising me, for supporting me, for being there when Dad died. You're the strongest woman I know. I love you more than anything." I started to cry. Not quiet tears, but deep, gasping sobs that made my ribs hurt. What had happened? When had my daughter, my beautiful girl who used to crawl into my lap after bad dreams, who I'd nursed through chicken pox and heartbreaks, when had she become someone who could steal from me? The next morning, I called Legal Aid of Arizona. I explained my situation to a paralegal named Sonia, trying to keep my voice steady. She listened carefully, asked detailed questions about the trust structure and the paperwork I'd signed. "Mrs. Foster, this sounds like possible financial exploitation. We see cases like this frequently. Can you come to our office? Bring everything you have." The legal aid office was in Phoenix, a 40-minute bus ride from Desert Bloom. I brought 2 folders stuffed with copies of every document I still had. Sonia introduced me to an attorney named Michael Chen, a young man with kind eyes who looked about Rachel's age. He spent 2 hours going through everything with me, making notes, asking questions. "The good news is that you documented everything," he said finally. "These photocopies are incredibly valuable. The bad news is that from what I'm seeing, you did technically give Rachel and Derek legal control of the trust. But there are provisions in Arizona law about fiduciary duty. If they've been using trust funds for their personal benefit or failing to account for the assets, that's a violation. We might have grounds for a lawsuit. How much would that cost? I only have about $800 in my personal account right now. We can take this pro bono. But Mrs. Foster, I need to be honest with you. These cases are hard. It's family. It's going to be ugly. Are you prepared for that?" I thought about my daughter's face when she was 7, gap-toothed and laughing. I thought about teaching her to ride a bike, to braid her hair, to stand up for herself. I'd raised her to be strong and independent. I'd never imagined I'd need to be protected from her. "Yes," I said, "I'm prepared." Michael filed a petition within a week, requesting a full accounting of the trust and a forensic examination of all transactions. Rachel called me 2 days later, screaming so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. "You're suing us? Are you fucking kidding me? After everything we've done for you?" "Rachel, I just want to know where my money is. I have a right to know. You gave us control. You signed the papers. You can't just change your mind because you're senile and paranoid." "I'm not senile. I'm 68 years old, and I'm still perfectly capable of managing my own affairs." "Clearly not, since you needed us to bail you out in the first place." Her voice was vicious now, all pretense of love gone. "You were going to blow that money on stupid shit. We saved you from yourself. By taking it?" She hung up. The court process took 4 months. 4 months of depositions and document requests, and sleepless nights. Dorothy from next door started bringing me meals because I'd stopped going to the dining hall. Couldn't stand the thought of eating while my stomach churned with anxiety. Harold, who'd been a professor before retiring, helped me understand the legal filings Michael sent me. "They're fighting hard," he said, reading over a response Derek's attorney had filed, claiming you were mentally compromised when you signed the documents, that you needed the protection of the trust. I wasn't compromised. I was just trusting. The forensic accountant's report came back in March. Michael called me into his office to go over it, his expression grim. "Mrs. Foster, I need you to sit down." The trust account was nearly empty, $18,000 left of the original $287,000. The accountant had traced the transactions. $78,000 transferred to Rachel and Derek's personal accounts for management fees and consulting services. $112,000 used to pay off their mortgage, $34,000 for a loan to Derek's real estate company that was never repaid. The rest in smaller withdrawals, dozens of them, for restaurants and vacations and shopping. My house sale proceeds, the $98,000, also gone, transferred into their accounts within a month of the sale closing. "This is embezzlement," Michael said quietly. "Elder financial abuse. We have them." I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. My daughter had stolen nearly $400,000 from me, had looked me in the eye and told me she was protecting me while she drained every cent, had moved me to a retirement home and kept me on an allowance of $2,000 a month while she spent my money on her lifestyle. The court hearing was on April 12th. I wore the same navy dress I'd worn to Tom's funeral because it was the nicest thing I still owned. Rachel and Derek were already there when I arrived, sitting with their attorney, a slick man in an expensive suit. Rachel looked thin, her face sharp with anger. She wouldn't look at me. I had to testify first. Michael guided me through it gently, establishing that I'd won the lottery, that Rachel and Derek had convinced me to set up the trust, that I'd believed I still controlled my own money. The judge, an older woman named Helen Rodriguez, listened carefully, making notes. Then it was Rachel's turn. She was a good liar. I'd never realized how good. She cried on the stand, talking about how worried she'd been about me after Dad died, how confused I'd seemed, how she and Derek had only been trying to help. Said I'd agreed to them using some of the trust funds for their mortgage because I'd wanted to help them. Said I'd been having memory problems, and they'd been protecting me. "My mother isn't well," she said, dabbing at her eyes. "I love her. This is breaking my heart." But then Michael presented the accountant's report. Every transaction, documented and traced, the timing of the transfers, right after they'd gained control, the sheer volume of money taken. Derek's face went white. Rachel stopped crying. And then Michael played something I didn't know he had, a recording. "Mrs. Foster, you mentioned you have an old answering machine," he said, "the kind that records messages on a cassette tape. Do you still have those tapes?" I did. Boxes of them in my small storage unit, years of saved messages because I could never bring myself to erase Tom's voice, the messages he'd left me from school or the store. Michael had asked to go through them, and I'd said yes. The recording played in the silent courtroom. Rachel's voice from October, calling my home number before I'd fully moved to Desert Bloom, probably not realizing the machine was still connected and recording. "Derek, I'm at Mom's. She's out." "Yeah, almost everything's moved. I found more of Dad's stuff in the garage, some tools and shit. I don't know. Sell it or donate it. Who cares? How much did the mortgage payoff leave in the trust?" "Seriously? Jesus. Well, we earned it. Do you know how many hours I've spent listening to her complain?" "No, she won't figure it out. She can barely work her cell phone. The retirement home was genius, by the way. Gets her out of the way and makes us look responsible." I know. Just a few more months of playing the concerned daughter and then we can." "Yeah, okay. Love you too." The silence after the recording ended was absolute. I watched Rachel's face crumble, watched her attorney lean over and whisper urgently in her ear, watched Derek stare at the table like he wanted to disappear into it. Judge Rodriguez looked at Rachel for a long moment. Then she looked at me. "Mrs. Foster, I'm going to issue a preliminary ruling right now. The trust is to be dissolved immediately and all remaining assets returned to you." Rachel and Derek Martinez are removed as trustees, and a temporary conservator will be appointed to help you establish proper, independent financial management. As for the missing funds, she looked at Rachel and Derek coldly. I'm referring this case to the Arizona Attorney General's office for potential criminal prosecution for elder abuse and exploitation. You two should be ashamed of yourselves. Rachel started crying again, real tears this time. Mom, please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean. Don't, I said. My voice came out stronger than I'd expected. Don't apologize to me now. Not when you're caught. Not when you have to. The conservator they appointed was a woman named Lisa Park, maybe 50, efficient and no nonsense. She helped me open new bank accounts that only I controlled, helped me file a civil suit to recover the stolen funds, explained that Derek and Rachel would likely have to sell their house to pay the judgment, that their wages could be garnished, that this would follow them for years. Do you want to pursue criminal charges? She asked me one afternoon in May, sitting in my small apartment at Desert Bloom. The AG's office says they have enough for felony theft and exploitation charges, but it's your decision. I thought about it for a long time. Thought about Rachel as a baby, her tiny hand wrapped around my finger. Thought about her college graduation, how proud Tom and I had been. Thought about her in that courtroom, lying so easily, crying fake tears. Thought about that recording, her voice casual and cold as she talked about getting me out of the way. No criminal charges, I said finally. But I want every cent back, and I want her to know that I know exactly what she did. The civil suit took another year. In the end, I recovered $182,000. Derek and Rachel did have to sell their house, had to liquidate investments. Rachel sent me a letter, trying to apologize, trying to explain. I never opened it. I gave it to Lisa, who filed it with the court records. I moved out of Desert Bloom last month, found a small condo in Tempe, near the university, with 2 bedrooms and a little balcony where I can grow herbs. I'm teaching again, volunteering at an elementary school, helping kids learn to read. I joined a grief support group where I met other people who've lost spouses, lost trust, lost faith in their families. We help each other. The air conditioning works. The water pressure is good. I have enough money, carefully managed now with Lisa's help and a real financial advisor, someone I chose myself. I'll never have the $473,000 I won that night in June, but I have enough, and I have something more valuable. I have my dignity back, my agency, my life. Rachel sent me a Christmas card this year. I looked at it for a long time, her handwriting on the envelope. Then I put it in the recycling bin without opening it. Maybe someday I'll be ready to hear what she has to say. Maybe someday I'll be able to forgive her, though I don't think I'll ever forget. But today, I'm okay. I'm more than okay. I'm free.